So let's start by just coming onto the toes. So just bringing up the heels. And then just rocking back. And now just sinking down, but really digging in with the heels. That's it. They're like a squat. So you have to keep the whole spine strong so that you remain looking forwards. And then back up. And then just coming onto the toes again, so lifting the heels. Back onto the whole foot. Feeling the heels now and just digging down with them as you go down. And now let's just breathe. Contracting my lower back. Contracting my belly. I want to feel the muscles working. Lower back working. And then the belly works. Feel the extremes where both sets of muscles are working. Here, my back is getting to the end of its tightening, and my belly is at the beginning of its tightening. I want to feel the overlap and make sure that that is there so that the two phases are joined. There isn't a break between them. We love breaks. We love having a break, a tea break. And this is what we're trying to shore up. We're trying to stitch up all the breaks. So there's only one thing, work. Bring it onto the toes and the heels again. So as you do this phase, you're on the toes, and then you rock back into the heels as you do the breathing out phase. And then just back to riding horse. Now let's figure of 8. So this is like rocking back into the heel and then coming around the foot, the outside edge, to go into the front of the foot. You can bring the heel up there and then into this heel. This turn, we're beginning to get turning into it. So turn the head. back to riding horse. And now just feeling the hips. Feel your shoulders on top of your hips. And then let's just turn from the hips. So to start with, when I turn from here. It's like I'm thinking of this part of my body twisting. But gradually, as I repeat it, I want it to sink down more and more into the legs and into the feet. So it becomes more and more an exercise of my legs. Now I want to feel the legs working. So it's my back leg here that's going to start my movement. It does that by bending. And we know that in order to bend it, I need to straighten it as fully as I can first. So I straighten it as fully as I can, which turns me this way. And then I start bending the leg. And what I want to do is feel that bending and turning, pulling my weight. So my weight is in this leg predominantly. I start pulling here. I feel my weight going, and now I feel my weight sinking down into this foot. So this leg has to stop pulling me and start pushing me effectively to stop me from falling down into it. And then when the weight hits the ground, I want to feel it going into the ground. And then this leg starts pulling. My weight is being moved, and then I feel my weight flowing into this foot. So this leg has to start straightening to bolster myself. And then when it hits the ground, I want to feel it just going down into the ground. Like my weight has opened up a hole in the heel. So the empty leg pulls. Then as it becomes full, it strengthens, but something in me releases so that the heel can open up and my weight can pass into the ground rather than settling onto the ground. Part we're not really used to is the straightening of the leg. Because when we come into a leg, we tend to just forget about the other one. But the other one has to really straighten to make sure everything is in the weighted leg. So this leg is trying its best to straighten, and that's difficult. And then you just relax that straightening and it will start bending, and then you keep that bending going and it becomes the pull. So I'm pulling the ground. So there's a sense in which that ground is coming up into my hip at the same time that my weight is flowing through the leg and settling into the ground. So there's always these two movements against each other. So different parts of the mind, different aspects of mind. Part of my mind is with my weight, and part of my mind is with my effort. And then just back into riding horse. And then we just want to turn from the hips again, trying our best to keep the shoulders with the hips. So feel like they're heavy and they're dropping down into the hips. So normally you feel the shoulders heavy by imagining the elbows heavy. So like there's weights hanging off your elbows. And then you just turn from the hips. And there should be no movement in the upper body. And it's very difficult. Something so simple is so difficult. As soon as I feel the movement, as soon as I feel the turn, my mind tries to be clever and anticipate and project along the turn. So my mind is already over here and my shoulders will tend to follow that. That's what I don't want to happen. Shoulders stay with the hips and I just turn. The mind will always try to be clever and will tend to ruin things because of that. That my body is moving, but my mind is still. And now let's just turn. Remember, the most important thing in Tai Chi is the production of circles. I'm using my body to make circles. My body is being flung out from the center of the circle, and my mind is coming into the center of the circle. But of course, there's part of your mind that's with the body, but we want it to simply be an awareness that's with the body, not a cleverness. I'm not manipulating, I'm not trying to affect my body with my mind. I'm just observing it, becoming sensitive, feeling it. Try and turn, turning from here. Because the arms are swinging, we tend to forget the hips, but we want it to come from the turn of my waist, not from the turn of my shoulders. And the mind that's with your hips and waist is very different from the mind that's with your shoulders. It's much more sort of determined and ruthless, the mind that's down here. And then you just repeat and repeat. And see what happens. I love it in Zen when traditionally, if the student has a technical problem and they ask the teacher, the answer the teacher gives is always the same. Just sit. That's what we would say. Just practice, and it will just all come out in the wash. You'll find out for yourself. The problem with the teacher giving the student information is that the student gets the impression that they know what they have heard. They think they've understood the words and therefore embody that information, but they don't. It doesn't matter what the teacher tells you, you still have to go away and find out for yourself. And the more clear and detailed the instruction is that the teacher has given you, in a sense, the more difficult it is for you to find it in your own words, for you to have that authentic experience for yourself. Now let's just try going backwards and forwards. Again, what I want to concentrate on is the straightening of the empty leg. So here I really have to straighten this front leg to get myself into the back foot, keeping myself square like this. And then here I really have to straighten the back leg to get this hip forward so it remains facing front. So as I come into my front leg is obviously working to hold me up, basically pushing me up. And my back leg is working in order to straighten and push myself forwards. But the two activities are quite different. My front leg is trying to support a situation, a state of affairs. My back leg is trying to bring about a change. It's trying to get me even more into the front foot, even more with the waist round. And then the back leg bends, and now it has become a support, and this leg now has to really work hard to make sure I'm round like this. So we have to try and feel the two legs. We don't simply want to feel the leg where the weight is. That's the status quo mind. That's the mind that doesn't really like change. It's the other leg, the empty leg, that's the important one. So the full leg is stable and secure, and the empty leg can move. And then the other foot forwards, the same thing. I've got my weight in the front leg, and my back leg is trying its best to straighten. And then remember, it's my back leg that moves me now because my back leg bends. That starts pulling me back. And then I settle my weight into that and my front leg straightens. And then my front leg bends. So the spirit, the life, the activity is with the empty leg. So it's here, it's ready to catch and pull. And then it's here, pressing and pulling. With the back leg, just really tighten this muscle, the thigh muscle, the quadricep, to try and straighten it as much as you can. And that will just tighten the hamstring, stretch it. And then it's easier then to kick the hamstring in and start it doing the work to pull you back. And the same thing here. I don't just relax here. The empty leg isn't relaxed. This is a big mistake that people make. It's really tense, but tense in the way that a yoga pose is tense because the muscles are really stretched and elongated. So here I'm really trying to stretch the back of my leg here. And then when I relax this muscle, which is tightening to stretch the back will naturally kick in because it's like a piece of elastic that I've stretched. So it will contract. Just bring it back. Let's just try a bit of the two circles. So let's start off by just doing this one where we reach forwards and pull, like you're pulling in a boat. You're on the bank of the canal and someone's thrown you the mooring rope and you're pulling it in. So it's difficult, but it moves. It's sluggish movement. But if you could put your back into it, you can do it. So here you'd really pull. This arm, having straightened to reach up the rope, would bend. And the bending in the arm, the activity, the strength in the bicep is what would start the pull. Now, what we want to do is feel it all the way down this side. So it's not just my arm bicep that's working to pull that rope. It's my leg bicep, it's my hamstring. The whole bending part of the body activates. So this is my straightening aspect. So my tricep is tightening in order to extend my arm. My quadricep is tightening in order to extend my leg and push this hip round to get more extension. And then the biceps work, the leg bicep and the arm bicep. And just feel how important it is to get the straightening first. If you don't get the straightening, you just can't kick in the leg bicep because we're so used to not using it. And then this circle exercise, it's just the same really, but just toned down and made continuous into a circle. I'm reaching forwards, I'm pulling, reaching forwards and pulling. So when I turn to the right, my left side is centrifugal and my right side is centripetal, and then the other. So when I turn to the right, it throws my left hand forwards. When I turn to the left, it pulls my left hand in. This is what we want to feel, just to become aware. Just looking at it. What's the body doing? What does the body want to do? If only the mind would let it. And what sort of mind is it that allows what wants to happen to happen? Mind we are used to using makes matters worse. It doesn't help. I'm always in two minds because I need the centrifugal mind and I need the centripetal mind because one's one side, one's the other. So this is the beauty of turning. You can't be simply one thing. that. Feel the spine, pushing the two hips apart via the sacrum. And now let's try this one. This one's really important. Constant movement. One side doing one thing, the other doing the opposite. Very gentle, very subtle. This is the sort of state we need to be in order to listen. So our listening is like a radio receiver, like an antenna that's picking up messages. And those messages need to be able to vibrate down the antenna. So if the antenna is too stiff or it's not made of the right material, it's not going to transmit. Nothing is going to be able to get through it. So here it's just this figure of eight, really. That's the beauty of the figure of eight exercise. It's listening all the time and it's ready to respond. This is the important thing we want. So our listening isn't, we're not just saying, oh yeah, we've heard something. You respond to it. If you don't respond to what you've heard, you haven't really heard. So it's delicate and gentle. It's the opposite of forceful. When you're forceful, you impose something upon the other, whether they want it or not, which they generally don't. Here, you're just trying to turn yourself into such a sensitive instrument that you pick up the demands of the other before they've even made them. Anything that you practice, if you get too much into it, it stops being listening. And so it's that fine line that we're treading. Feel the root going down. It's just like a willingness in your mind to go into the ground, the last place it wants to go. So let's try just a little bit of the form, just the beginning. And just try and feel the circles. John was always quite adamant that the most important thing in Tai Chi is the production of circles, is turning. It's that yields. Sink down into this heel, enables this heel to come up. I step, and now here I want to embrace that foot, and as I come into it, the other one. So there's no circles on the horizontal plane here, but the circle is on the vertical plane like this, coming up the other person and down you. So just try and feel that, and just feel what needs to happen in the lower back and the sacrum to bring the hands in without you just doing a mechanical action. And now circles. I make a circle. So all the time there are circles. And then here again, circle. Circle. And now let's just go from here because the circles are clear from here. Turn to the right. Basically, you're doing this exercise all the time in Tai Chi. So round to the right, yield. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just roll back. So roll back is just this. So from ward off right. So I just reach forwards, take someone's left hand, and I turn to yield and bring the other hand in. This hand attacks, they start withdrawing, so I scoop the arm out of the way, and then I come in to press. So very simple. The less movement we can have of the arms, the better, the more it is, the more it's Tai Chi. this sense of moving the upper body without anything within the upper body moving. So the whole thing is moving. So I'm turning here, I'm turning here, I'm turning here, and then forwards. And then the same thing here. Someone's attacking with their left hand, or there, it doesn't really matter. I just make a circle to yield, and then I attack, and then this attack becomes a yield, and then this becomes an attack. So let's go from the press. So my left hand, my weight is in the front foot here. So the energies, the activities in my left side. So I use that and I turn. So I'm turning like this with my front foot as the center of the circle. So here I'm reaching, and now I turn, and then I go into the back foot, and now this side of my body is turning and making a circle. That's the roll back, and then the return for the press, which is just coming into the front foot in order to activate the left side of the body. Weight in the front foot. My left side is active, it's free, it's loose. 1 and 2 and now the push. So in the form, push is just simply going back and then coming forwards, trying to get as little movement in the arms as possible. Now here we can just feel it basically being the two sides of the body, again, alternating like the figures of 8s. Left side yields. That requires me to reach forwards with the hand to make a connection, and then withdraw the hand. And hopefully the hand is with that whole side of the body. I make a circle. And then as I go back, this hand starts making a circle, but the beginning of that circle is the attack. And then that just becomes the beginning of the yield. And then as it continues, the other side attacks. So let's try that again. 1, push, 1, push. And then single whip is just the same, really, the beginning of single whip. So normally in the form, we go back, and then we turn. But really what's happening is someone's attacking with their left hand. This is very, very simple at the beginning. Just reach forwards and yield and push them perpendicular to the direction they were pushing themselves. What's important here is that you get these toes round, because your energy is directed by the toes of this foot. Normally, the energy is directed by the toes of the front foot. But here, my front foot is pointing over here. I don't really want it to go there. So I use my back foot to just channel the energy. So let's try the single whip again. So making a circle. And now I just do a big turn. And now someone is attacking from this back corner here. So I have to turn again and yield here. And now that they're coming through, and I attack with my hook. So I just strike them in the side of the head. Then I sink back and step round. And then I make sure I bring up my left hand before I bring the weight forwards. And then I just bring the weight forwards. So let's just try it once. Feeling the circles. Reaching forwards, bringing it up and down your own body. circle. Now my left side is circling. And now I have to make sure I turn here whilst I'm in the back foot. So we want to make sure that the turning is the first thing that happens before the weight transfers. So I turn here and then I bring the weight forwards. Let's just try that one again. 1, 2, turning and then bringing the weight forwards. And it's as I connect with this foot here, that's when this hand becomes active. And now I turn again. I want to turn this way. So I turn, step, and now again, turn. I've got to swing this arm up from a turn of the waist. There's not much left. So you need to feel that coming from the turn. And then I just sink forwards. And now the roll back. So circle, 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 press. And now the push, circle, push, circle, push. And now the single whip, circle, pushing perpendicular, attack coming from here, circle to catch the attack. As they come through, you hit them in the side of the head, step, circle, turning whilst the weight is in the back foot, and then surging forwards. And then the next bit, you're just circling. I'm hollowing the chest, and I take the other person's arm. We have to try and feel the applications of the form. So I'm very much responding, I'm yielding to something that's coming towards me. So let's just finish now.